HMO health plans are managed programs, and a limit on malpractice awards for pain and suffering, which drive health costs up. Thomas Foley, the Democratic Speaker of the House, said that's not enough.
It is time for national health insurance. It is time to cover every American. It is time to control costs.
But so far on health care, there's been no consensus within either political party on just what to do, and certainly no consensus from the public. More details of the president's plan are promised late next week. Faith?
Thanks, Bob Hager. Russian President Boris Yeltsin this morning followed President Bush's lead and announced deep cuts in his country's nuclear arms program. Yeltsin says he has taken more than 600 strategic nuclear missiles off alert and ordered a sharp cutback in production of long-range nuclear bombers. He says he'll urge the leaders of other former Soviet republics to do the same. Yeltsin flies to the U.S. later this week, where he's scheduled to meet with President Bush this Saturday at Camp David. Former Philippine First Lady Imelda Marcos was arrested today on charges of illegally keeping foreign bank accounts. Marcos called her arrest today a harassment campaign aimed at stopping her from running for president. Only hours before, she pleaded innocent to 4 other criminal charges filed by the Aquino government. Marcos faces more than 80 criminal and civil charges. The Magellan spacecraft is back in business today, but apparently not for long. NASA engineers fixed some glitches in the spacecraft, and it is once again giving us a glimpse of the planet Venus. But NASA says it is ending Magellan's Venus mapping mission next year, 2 years earlier than planned. NASA says it has no money for the project. 8:08 now. That's the latest from here.
Thanks, Faith. Let's head down to our incumbent weatherman in Washington, since we're in such a political motif, Willard.
I get a kick out. I stayed up last night, you know, like, Joe, you always watch the last of the big basketball games run till midnight. Wasn't that late, but I stayed up till, what, 10, 15? I like to hear all the commentators. Some people don't like that, but I like to hear the critiques and the people.
What follows, my beloved children and anyone else that is beloved to me, which includes everyone I love. I hope my son someday, and my daughter, who is even now possibly better equipped to deal with the future than myself, might understand my inner feelings and motive and meanings behind what I do for my children. And as I look at a porch set up by my loving wife, with her direction, I helped her put things within reach to help foster an area of development for a child. And if you can see, first of all, there is at the bottom a desk given by love, with love, to a young heart and soul and mind and body, to a brother in spirit, to learn, to grow, to become. Our Charlotte, who can at times provoke the most profound and deep and most inspirational feelings from anyone that encounters her, because of her beauty and her humor and her intelligence. be a part of this family, to be part of me and my life and our lives is a strength, a strength. Son, look upon this. I direct my speech mostly to Dan, but knowing anyone who listens to this will understand. Daniel, look at your desk. Think of the moment spent and what it meant to you, what it means to you today in every way. A part of your life, a part of your future, a part of your destiny. Are there accidents? It's a question I ask myself sitting here because I had to take a day off from work. And sitting in my chair, looking at the window that we're looking at now, and wondering, why is that important to me? Why is the arrangement of items sitting there so important to me? And they remind me of the evolution of ourselves and the development of our own being. The process of learning is the basis of all things. The beginning, the root, to question, to doubt, to want to use what physical attributes we have, whatever they may be, to develop a knowledge and wisdom that we can then skillfully use to help others and ourselves through life. This learning process not only is the beginning of life, but is also the food of life itself. We must always continue to use what we have initially as our root. And next level above the desk, I see a police car, which is the first ideal of a child. Not necessarily the policeman, but the ideal of someone in service to others, whether it be a doctor, a lawyer, a politician, a policeman, a detective, a scientist, a poet, whoever has dedicated themselves to others. This ideal is above that of the learning process, which gives us a reason to learn. It's the first aspect of our being in development that we acknowledge, which gives me hope for all mankind, because that means we have a much higher goal than we give ourselves credit for sometimes, which is to be the Christ, to be like Christ. Above the police car are images of war and defense and strength and armor and offense. Those are all the physical attributes needed to accomplish what the pure intent of our lives are. Some things so beautiful and innocent must be defended against that which would destroy or alter or take away from us the pure goodness due us. And at times it requires force to accomplish that. The force can never be directed without pure intent. The ends never justify the means. Remember that. They never justify the means unless, listen, unless that goal is beyond what we can ever hope to achieve in life. Others have talked about such a quest or ideal as a religious fanaticism. It's true, it takes a certain amount of spiritual insight to make decisions regarding life and death. Ponder that. Above even the defensive is the mechanical or the technology or the benefits of our knowledge being expressed now in this image as it's laid out so perfectly is a locomotive, which is one of the first great mechanical tools man used in our age of knowledge to expand ourselves and to grow and to become what we are today as a nation and a world. The mechanical engineering knowledge necessary there, the mathematics, the geometry, the science, all those things come to bear to expand and to grow and to become wealthy or to use the resources we have in the world for benefit. Unfortunately, I don't think we've understood the true nature of using that benefit for all. Rather, it's mostly the firstest with the mostest. It takes and then shares with those who are able to pay for that knowledge or resource. Perhaps as part of the inspiration process for us to rise from a lower level to a higher level, where we too can realize the inspiration source and then share it with all, and still be rewarded while we live for the effort exerted. Even though from the lowest to the highest we all share in common all those attributes that make it necessary or make it possible for us to delve into the unknown, which is the future. Few, if any, realize the responsibility with that honor and glory of doing that process of reaching into the future and sharing with those of the past. Above the engineering marvels of technology and the resources of today to make life easier is an artistic portrayal of man reaching above him. And the only way that man can actually become all that he is to go towards the source, upwards, inward, within the home, within self. Yet always within the spiral source of all. In the top drawing is merely a clue how the Trinity works, how the source of the oneness manifests. Earth, water, sky, and fire. Earth, water, sky or air, and fire. Think it accidental that science today should delve into the strange wisdom of the past? Look at the bell, the ancient bells above, passed down from my grandparents to my father to me. Well, sleigh bells represent more than just love, which could be no more. My daughter arouses herself from sleep, so I'm forced to cut off now because I